Welcome to Up Close and Empowered with host Sonna Johns. Over the next hour, you'll hear from Sonna and her guests on how you can become more empowered through life's most challenging situations. Sonna's journey through her own transformation has inspired her to awaken you to your divine power.
Hi, I'm Sonna Johns with Up Close and Empowered, where my intention is to inspire you in some way to awaken you to your true inner power, because I believe that empowerment comes from within. I'm confident that the guests that you'll hear from throughout my episodes will impact you in some divine way, helping you to live a more fulfilling life of love, inner peace, and joy. Thank you all for listening today. And I want to also thank you for your ongoing support. I've been getting a lot of great feedback, so keep it coming. I always like to know how people feel about the show, what their comments and suggestions are, any topics they want to hear about. And for those of you that would like to go to my website, you can comment there and I will get the information. So thanks so much for all of your support. So my guest today is someone that I've had the pleasure of getting to know over the last few years. And when I think of her, the words that come to mind are ambitious, determined, and courageous. And let me tell you, this woman, young woman, is a warrior. She has been on the emotional and mental battlefield, but continues to hold her faith in victory. And I wanted to have her on the show because, well, first of all, for those of you that don't know me, I am a huge music supporter. So I love music. I have a soft spot for musicians. I was raised on music my entire life. My parents were big into jazz. My brother was a record promoter for many years. We went to all of the old R&B greats like Barry White and Donna Summer and Parliament Funkadelic and all these like diverse bands. And it was just great growing up in a musical family. We all played musical instruments. And so I have a soft spot because I know how hard it is to be in this industry, and that musicians and creatives are really doing this because it empowers them, it nourishes their soul, and it also uplifts the souls of others. So that's a lot of the reason why I wanted to have her on, but also because I've had the pleasure of knowing her for the last few years. And she is just quite a very, very charismatic woman with big dreams and a bold spirit. And despite her challenges early on in her life, she refused to be a victim. And she's a tough one, boy. She has a very strong connection to her faith and joy in God. And that is what's helped her through most of her difficult times in her life. I feel she's an old soul. I mean, she's a very vibrant woman. And when I met her, I remember it was when COVID was lightening up and people were just starting to get out, and I was doing a speaking event and I was sharing my story, and I could see her in the background nodding her head. Do you remember that? Like nodding her head. And I'm like, wow, she's really getting it. And afterwards, she came up and she started talking to me and asking me questions. And I was immediately drawn to her presence because she has this radiant energy about her. And she just wanted to know more about my story and, the courage that I had taken at this point in my life and all of these questions. And she was just so inquisitive and wanted to learn about personal growth and dive into self-love. So we initially just really hit it off. I mean, there was a total connection between the two of us, and we stayed in touch. And then we started to work together a little bit. And she has come a long way in her journey. And I'm sure she's going to share some of that today. But she strives not only to personally grow, but she's interested in her soul's evolution. She's stepped on the path where she really wants to grow and evolve, heal past traumas in her life, and just move on and be an empowered woman and ultimately impact others from her story. So recently she was able to address a significant situation that occurred at a young age. She'll lightly touch on this today, but she has been through a lot, and I'm so proud of her for just overcoming so many obstacles in her life. And when you hear her sing, and we're going to hear from her today for a few minutes, by the way. We have a little surprise in store. So Sarena Rae is a vocalist, a songwriter, an event producer, and a model. She models for a lot of local brands in Michigan. And she released her original debut single and music video at the age of 16 entitled You're Beautiful. Amidst the insecurities that resounded within her from childhood, she was determined to share this uplifting message with those around her because there was this voice inside of her that said, "You're beautiful." So the song You're Beautiful became a music video that reached over 200,000 views on YouTube. And this is where it all began. So I would like to introduce the lovely and talented Sarena Rae to the show. Welcome, Sarena.
Wow, thank you so much, Sonna. What an amazing intro. So thank you for having me on the show. It really is a pleasure.
You're welcome. Well, it's all true. It's all true. I mean, how tall are you? Are you 5'8", 5'9"?
I'm 5'11".
Oh, you're 5'11". Oh my gosh. Okay. Because I thought, well, maybe she's 5, because she is just this radiant beauty. I mean, you really truly are. And when you sing with such soul, but we'll get into that later. So Sarena, tell our listeners a little bit about your story, kind of where it all began, and talk about maybe some of the obstacles that you've encountered along the way and what you did to overcome them, and kind of take us up to even where we are now, if you can.
For sure. So um, I'm born and raised Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I grew up in a single parent home, low income. I had two older brothers, and I am biracial, so I'm half black, half white. And growing up, I really felt and had a hard time um, realizing that I'm beautiful. The mix in me is beautiful, being black and white. But I struggled. I felt caught in between. I felt as if I wasn't white enough, I wasn't black enough. I really struggled with unworthiness and feeling like I didn't deserve agency or deserve love. And Growing up, I always loved music. It was kind of like a form of therapy for me. It was a coping mechanism, but I didn't really realize how powerful music was in my life until going to church. My mom sang in the church choir, and she'd have me tag along, and I'd be hearing all the harmonies, and it just really breathed life into me and into the situation. And from there, I really started doing poetry and songwriting. And it really kind of became like this comfort for me, music did. But at the age of 4, too, my dad walked out of the situation. He was no longer a part of my life. And so not only was my dad not a part of my life, but my whole Black family. So now I was just in this white family that loved me, but there were obstacles there too. So just feeling isolated, feeling alone as a child, and feeling forsaken by my dad and that side of my family. And then also at 4, and I just really came to know this information in 2017. But at the age of 4, I was raped, and that's something now that I know, the resilience that is within me. And I share this to really empower women to look deep within. And I'm so happy that I know that part of my story, even though it was so hard to hear, because learning to accept it, learning to accept that that happened and that's a part of my story, has made me even more strong. And I've come to realize that, if I were never in the trenches, how am I ever supposed to lead people out of the trenches?
Mhm.
And so that's a little bit of my story, and how I am now. I would just say I'm just inspired that God has brought me this far, and music is definitely a tool for me to share my story with others. And also, I feel like it's a way that I can relate with other people and connect with the community around me, and hopefully make people feel like they're not alone in their journey throughout life, because it is hard. It is hard, but we're all here for a purpose. We're all here for a reason.
That's right. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that story and your vulnerability. I'm real curious when you started realizing that some of the unconscious things that may have happened were affecting you, because obviously you didn't realize some of this trauma until you just recently, 4 or 5 years ago. And when did you even think that there might be something? So I'm asking because there's people out there that, they have not addressed their trauma, and sometimes we need to, and it's unconscious for a long time. So at what point were you able to realize, and then how did you work through it for those that are listening who have, had similar experiences?
Absolutely. So I'm not going to say that I've arrived or that I've worked through it completely, but I am still
Mhm.
working through it. And when you talked about evolving, when you introduced me, I like to think about it as not necessarily like you're walking up a staircase and you're arriving at a different point or working towards or trying to achieve something, but more so like you're stripping away the layers of w- other people's perceptions and the things that have happened to you that were out of your control, and um, gaining more clarity and a relationship with who you are at the core. And I think that
Yes.
that's where the evolving comes from, is when we really learn to strip away others' beliefs about
Right.
us and the tragedies that have happened in our lives. Um, but how I've been working through it, I mean, my mom at a really young age always had me saying like positive affirmations over myself. And there's been times, you know, Advent flows in my life where I've really struggled with that, and then where it becomes a part of my routine. And you've really helped with that too, Sana. But
Thank you.
positive affirmations are so imperative, and it's something that even if you don't feel like it's true at the moment, still speak positive over yourself and you'll see a great outcome.
Yes, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, and you talk about the true self, which is so important because all the things that we're told at a young age, first 10 years of life, most aren't even true. And so, as you said, we strip away the layers and then we finally realize the true self, our true nature of who we are, which I see that has come out in you for sure. I mean, I just see that you have grown so much in the last few years. And it makes me feel good because I know that you're on your path, and let's talk about that a minute. So I know that you've always grown up with a very strong faith, and that your mother would take you to church and you tagged along and you loved the music and you felt it in your soul. And then you later found out that this is what I want to do. But how have you gone beyond that on your spiritual path? And what have you done and when?
That's such a great question. I feel like since 2020, my relationship with God has really changed course. It really became my own and no longer something that I was taught. Um,
Love
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I love
2020.
that.
Yeah. 2020 was such a obscure year because the whole world was going through something together. And as terrible and terrifying as it was almost like this really beautiful connection between humanity and us realizing that we really are one and united. And so my belief in God's love just became so much stronger because his love is beyond what we can fathom. And I really truly believe that it goes further than we can conceive. And so you know, I used to shame myself if I would make a mistake, or I would think about how um, I could do it differently, which is a positive thing. But when you dwell on it so much, it's like you're beating yourself up. And I used to do that, and now I realize, you know, God loves me even through the bad, the good, the ugly, all the mistakes, and He's actually made us so that we can go through those mistakes, so that we learn to trust Him.
Right, right. And a lot of it is just being in the self-awareness. So we're not going to be perfect all the time, but the fact that we're more self-aware of our words, our thoughts, our actions, that's really the healing process, the awareness process, and the journey, really. So I love that. So what do you do when you are maybe having a tough day, or if somebody sets you off, or, I'm sure that in your business, when you're performing all the time, there's things that can go wrong. And I know that I know you work a lot. You're kind of a workaholic. We're working on that. We're working on,
Sometimes.
but I mean, you're always busy. You are booked all the time, and which is great. But what do you do when you're a little overwhelmed? What's your go-to?
Oh my goodness, that's such a great question. Especially because you're right, I am a workaholic, and it's hard for me sometimes to wind down and to just spend time relaxing and just being present in the moment. I think something that I try to do for sure is just breathe and realize that my purpose is within each breath, and remind myself that it's not um, that deep, right? Like it is deep, but what I'm trying to say is it's not. Not everything is so serious all the time, and it's good to just lean into that breath and lean into your existence, and the fact that we're alive, and that's the beauty of the day, and that's the most important thing of the day. So when I begin to get like super stressed out, or things are like really chaotic and busy for me, I just try to realize how blessed I am and thank God for all the opportunities he's given me. um and thankful for what I get to do.
Right. And you do have a morning routine, right? You usually.
Yes, I will say right now, my morning routine is kind of went out the window, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm also in transition right now, and so I'm trying to give myself a lot of grace. But on a really good day, I have a morning routine of course, making my bed, looking at myself in the mirror, saying something positive to myself, thanking God for another day to live, to breathe, to have purpose. And then I do love going on walks as well,
Mhm,
and like
mhm.
connecting with nature.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. Well, we're going to take a short break in a minute here. And right after the break, we are going to hear a little bit of one of Serena's songs, which will be really nice to hear. And then I'm also going to put it out there if there are some callers that would like to call in and ask a question. The number is 888-346-9141. That number again is 888-346-9141 if you have a question for Serena or myself. And coming up in just a little bit later than that, we will be hearing a little bit more of her story and what's worked, what hasn't, and some of the transition that she is going through right now. So we'll share. That's going to be a little interesting, and you can share whatever you want, but you are in a major transition right now, right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Okay, great. So we'll be back right after this short break. Thank you so much for listening.
Welcome back to Up Close and Empowered with Sonna Johns. Have a question for Sonna or guests? Join us on the show at 888-346-9141. That's 888-346-9141. Now back to the show.
Hi, welcome back to the show. This is Sonna Johns on Up Close and Empowered, and we're talking to Sarena Rae, singer, vocalist, songwriter, event producer, and model. And right now we're going to give the whole, tell them all about what you do here. And we're going to have her give a little bit of a background on one of her favorite songs. And Sarena, you could give us a background on that.
Absolutely. So back in 2020, I wrote and recorded my first original EP, which is a short album. And on this short EP is a song called Caught in Between that I wrote. And this song was really empowering for me to write, because not only was I talking about growing up biracial and the immense adversity that came with that, but also talked about how much I love it now, and how my unique perspective I can carry with me throughout life. So you'll hear in that first verse I say, I am the holder of equality. I hold the presence of my ancestors inside of me, which I think is a really powerful statement. I carry not only my white ancestors, but my Black ancestors with me. And there's a lot of strength in that. So I hope that you really enjoy listening a little bit to the song.
Great. Can't wait to hear it. Let's listen.
was hid and now I'm seen. I am the voice that resounds from the soul of the middle ground. I am not a color, I am who God made me to be. Don't criticize, patronize, or treat me differently. I am your sister in life's tapestry. I carry two beautiful tones that I am
Wow, if that isn't an empowering song, I don't know what is. Caught in Between by Sarena Rae. I love that. So how long did it take you to record that?
Oh my goodness. Really, it was like a year project, but I did come into the studio with a demo that I had made when I was living in Nashville at the time. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I love being in the studio. I love songwriting, and I really love making songs that share my story and that hopefully listeners can relate to.
Yeah. So Sarena, I know that you're going through a transition right now, a breakup,
Mhm.
and just maybe share some of the challenges and some of the strengths that you've also realized while going through this with our listeners.
Yeah, I mean, I think so many people, I mean, in their adulthood go through stages that you didn't think were going to happen. Like life is full of surprises, and it's
Mhm.
really about how you respond to those surprises and how you embrace and accept them, even when it's hard. And for me, it has been really hard. I mean, this was a person that I was going to marry. We were engaged and planned on spending life together. And I had to make the hard decision of coming to terms with what would be best for me. And honestly, what would be best for my partner at that time too. And that would be for us to separate. And that was due to, you know, I could tell we were both becoming unhappy. We were both becoming um, not the best versions of ourselves, and I was looking at myself in the mirror and not liking what I was seeing anymore, and not in a physical way, but in a deep, profound internal way. I
Mhm.
I was feeling like I was betraying myself, like I was losing who I was at the core, and I know that my partner at the time would not want me to feel that way, and I would never want him to feel that way. And so sometimes you just have to make those hard choices, and who's to say what will happen in the future, if there's a miraculous work within the both of us. But it's really just trusting the process, and even when it's hard, knowing that I'm making the right choice for me.
Yeah. Well, I know it's difficult because you guys were together for a while and he's a musician as well. So you share a lot in common that way.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Total love for music. So that was something that definitely brought us together. And, you know, and we're still friends. We still do music together. And I think that's beautiful.
Do you feel that you were just growing apart? I mean, as you were evolving, you just kind of, because we all grow in our own timeline and our own way. And
Mhm.
I'm just curious, did you sense that that was maybe happening, or what really brought you to this decision?
Right. I mean, like either you grow together or you grow apart. And that was what was happening. It was no longer a partnership. It was becoming um just it's just not a partnership, you know. And so, and if that's what is supposed to be worked towards, if that's the commitment towards each other and that's not happening, that's when we need to reassess. And so yeah, that's when that hard decision was made for sure. And I will tell you, I'm in the house that we were living in together, and now I'm here by myself, and it's like, you know, there's days that it's really
Right.
hard. Um, but getting through that and feeling like I have moments of really reconnecting with myself, and that's like a really beautiful thing, and I was really struggling with that for a while, so it feels good to be back at that space.
Oh, I love that. I love that you're sharing that because it's so important to build a relationship with yourself first and foremost, and that you had maturity and self-awareness, I should say, to make this decision, because I know that this wasn't easy for you. And this is a very big change, and you're by yourself and you're even going deeper. So I commend you for this journey. I really do. But I know it's all working out for your higher good.
Thank you so much, Sonna. I just
Yeah.
love
No, I love you too. All right. So we have a caller and we are going to take a question. So where is our caller from?
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Carrie. Carrie from Michigan.
Oh, Kari from Michigan. Hi.
Kari.
That,
Okay. Hi,
that
Kari.
is okay.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'm a huge supporter of you both, especially Sarena and all that she's about in her music. So I'm glad to be on the line with you today.
Thank you so much, Kari. I'm so glad you called in.
What is your question?
Yeah. The question I have is actually for the both of you, if you don't mind answering. What advice or encouragement would you give to young ladies that are in similar predicaments or in the field that you both are in? What would you give them to, I guess, to say, to keep going and persevere?
That's a really great question, Kari. Do you want to go first, Sonna?
Well, I just think that it just all starts with self-awareness, and you really have to be very aware of how you feel, where your joy is, where your happiness is, if you're, nourishing your soul. When things don't feel in alignment, you know it, and then you have to really go within, because if you don't address it, inevitably it's going to show up down the road. Now, it depends. I mean, we're all on a journey. And, when we're younger, sometimes we have to go through these relationships and we have to learn these lessons and go through these chapters in our lives. As we get older, some of us still might do the same thing. I mean, it took me forever to really figure it out. So it really depends on the level of awareness and how much somebody really wants to connect within, because when you connect within, that is empowerment. That is empowerment at its fullest, because once you work on your inner world, everything else on your outer world works out for you.
Couldn't agree more with you, Sonna. And I think too, trusting your intuition is a huge, huge thing. And if something feels off, that means that it is, and follow that voice inside of you. Don't second guess yourself, and be courageous. Like, do the things that you're scared of doing, and do it afraid. Like, it's okay.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, and it's okay. Like, if you make a mistake, pull yourself back up and learn from it, and don't feel intimidated by that mistake or that you need to give up. Just keep trying, and you'll make it. You really, really will. And I can say, I always dreamt of being where I'm at now. Like, I always dreamt of being able to sing and be a musician full time. And let me say, like, it was really hard, but I worked and I kept grinding. And now I'm in a place I'm like super happy. And now whatever opportunity is out there, like, I feel, even if I were to be afraid, like, I feel so ready for it. So just trust yourself, and trust your heart, and lean into your dreams, and it'll happen.
I love that advice. And I'll tell you what I love about it the most is it's when you make those really difficult decisions, or you set those really strong boundaries, that is where the empowerment, the self-love is birthed. It really is. Because when we ignore it, we ignore the intuition and we let just things go and go under the carpet, over time, we're just betraying ourselves, like you said earlier. So I'm so glad that you brought that up, because even though initially some of the decisions that we have to make in life are so difficult and monumental, in the long run, I know it's cliche, but they do make us stronger. They do empower us more, and we learn so much. It's all of our lessons for our soul growth and relationships that we have in the future, and what we add to the world in the future.
Absolutely. And I have to say too, if you ignore that voice, if you ignore what you know you're supposed to do, the universe, God, it's gonna happen anyways. And so and it's gonna be harder that way. So I mean, like, just, don't challenge it. Just go with the natural flow, with the natural presence of what's happening.
It's true. We know about the signs, right, Sarena? All the signs, being in self-awareness and seeing the signs, and you're either going to listen or you're not. And if you don't, they're going to keep coming up until you get really nudged.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So does that answer your question, Kari?
It did. Thank you so much for sharing that between the both of you. There were a lot of good nuggets and wisdom to take. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for the call.
Of course. I wish you both the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So Sarena, what is it that you want people to know about you?
I would love people to know that I am courageous, and I feel that that's like one of the biggest gifts I think God has given me, is that I am like really resilient and really courageous. And each of us have gifts, and each of us have a different story and a different journey, and have been in the trenches per se in different ways. And to not forsake your story, not forsake where you come from, because it's a huge part of why you are the way you are, and in the story that you have, and how you're going to be able to help others along your journey. And so for me, I'm just like in the state where, I'm 27, and I'm really just now feeling really comfortable sharing like the hard parts of my story. And so I guess I just want to encourage everyone to just share your story. And if you're not there yet, maybe just start by writing it down, and you'll feel like a huge sense of freedom in that.
Yeah, it's liberation for sure. What are your thoughts on having a support system?
Oh my goodness. My life, and I'm so happy that you asked me this. I was thinking about it today. Now that I'm an adult, like I realize the people in my life, the adults in my life, when I was growing up, like it made such a huge impact when they'd go to my shows, or when they would show up for me, especially because I didn't have my father. And so I just want to say thank you to my family and my friends that came out and supported, because I know now as an adult, like that's a self-sacrifice. Like you could have stayed in and relaxed, but you decided to pour into me. And so even at an adult stage, I would say it's just so important to have support around you, and to make sure that you have a village of people around you praying for you, lifting you up, um, during the good and the bad. We need those people around us.
Right. And did you go when you were going through these things when you were younger and throughout your teen years and such, and even early in your 20s, did you seek any professional advice, like with therapy or coaching, or, well, obviously we work together, but what can you tell our listeners about that?
Yeah, back when I was 22, I made a very conscious decision to find a therapist, to find a counselor. No one talked to me about it. It was just something that I really wanted on my own. I read the book Braving the Wilderness by Brene Brown, and I think everyone should read it. But in that book, I realized all the things I've been through and how they have triggered me, how I do have trauma, or how I experienced PTSD and anxiety and depression from those things, and how I didn't want to carry the negative with me through my adulthood. And I really wanted to begin the healing process in my 20s.
Right. Okay, good. Well, we're going to take one more short break, and we'll be back right after that. So we'll see you in just a minute. Hi, I'm Sonna Johns on Up Close and Empowered. We're talking to Sarena Rae, and we're on the last half of the show. And I want to talk to Sarena about some of the things that she's working on and that she's collaborated as far as events. Take us through what you're working on with Music That Raised Us, and probably, give everybody an idea of what that's all about.
Absolutely. So I'm so excited to share with you all. I have a show called Music That Raised Us, like Sonna said. And this idea came to pass back in 2022. At first, it started off with me just wanting to do a show celebrating women in the community. And then that really went deeper into me wanting it to be an educational show for the community where we're actually celebrating Black female artists throughout the ages, throughout music history, and the stories behind those women and the adversities that they had to go through in each point in history. And so this show is truly empowering for women in the arts, but also just a really inspiring show and time to really celebrate Black female voices, because we really don't get to hear those stories enough, and they really truly are inspiring. We have a show coming up March 1st at Elder Park Church, and it is free to the public. We really try to put on shows that are free for the public, because it is educational. It's time for families, friends, students to come and really learn about our music history and where, where did Motown start? It started in Michigan, right? And all the amazing female voices that were behind a machine like that. So learning about that it's a lot of fun, and it's really cool because I get to work with some of the best female vocalists in West Michigan that are seasoned and have been a part of the music industry for a long time. So it's like me basically honoring and giving the women that have gone before me their flowers. And so I love the show for that reason.
It's great. And you put it all on, right? You put it all together. You do everything. You coordinate it, promote it. Yeah,
Yep.
that's a big ordeal.
Thank you so much. And if you want to learn more, you can go to musicthatraisedus.com. And hey, if you want to book us, you can inquire there as well. And I'll tell you what, you will not be disappointed. It's such a fun show, and you'll hear all your favorite songs throughout time.
Musicthatraisedus.com. And also, while we're talking about how they can get in touch with you or learn more about you, maybe give them your Instagram handle, your website, just so that they have it if they want to jot it down.
Absolutely. So you can go to at Instagram, I'm at Sarena Rae, Sarena Rae music. And then also on there, you'll see that you can press in my bio the link to Music That Raised Us as well. And then if you want to hear my music, it's on all streaming platforms, such as Apple Music, Spotify, and any other platform that you like to listen to your music.
Didn't you do a Christmas one too?
I did. And you know what? I'm really excited because I'm actually doing a Christmas show December 21st at Wealthy Theater here in West Michigan. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yes, Santa will be there. So I'm really excited. I haven't had the opportunity to actually sing that album yet and like perform it live. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Do you have any YouTube videos out or anything where people can click on and see you perform?
I know that there's a few out there. You can just look up my name, Sarena Rae, and you'll find probably quite a few from past performances from this past summer, actually. So
okay, or even on your Instagram, because I know when you are promoting the music that raised us, I love hearing the female vocalists. It's just amazing. I love keeping up with all of that. But you also put that on your Instagram as well. You have the music that raised us, and then you have Sarena Rae. There's
yes.
two. Okay. Okay, great. So Sarena, what do you think would be the hardest lesson that you've learned? What's the hardest thing that you've had to overcome in your 27 years?
27 years. Oh my goodness. That's a huge question.
You can take a minute. You can take a minute if you want.
Honestly, the first thing that came to my mind, I'll go with, which was self-acceptance, which you talked about earlier, like really embracing who I am at my core and leaning into that and realizing just how beautiful I am and how great my purpose is in this world and how profound it is that each of us were born at the time we were born and the reason why we're here. I mean, it really is a gift to be alive and amidst all the chaos and the turmoil, the adversities I've been through and the hurt. I will say that I know deep down inside of me, like it's this core truth that I'm here for a reason and that I am beautiful. And I think it's helped me to really accept and embrace other people too. So
What were some of the things that helped you to get to this place of self-love?
Mm.
What do you think the tools or the processes or tips that really helped you to really hone in? And I know your faith is strong, but in addition to that,
I would say um, leaning in to yourself and your inner voice and hearing yourself. I know it sounds crazy, but like the
yeah,
world
no,
is full of distractions, and it's really easy to hear everyone's else's voice and then
mhm,
tune out your own. And so like really tuning in to um what you're okay with, what you're not okay with, like your values, um what you want for yourself and in your life, and like as much as you can um like listen to that voice and acknowledge that voice and honor that voice inside of you. I think everything else will really pan out. And if you can accept that voice inside of you, then you truly are accepting yourself at the core.
how do you feel
But I
about
will say,
outside? I'm sorry.
sorry, I was going to say, I will say you've helped me though too, along the way, Sonna, since I've known you. In the 2 years I've known you, you're just such a bright light, and you really came along at a time that I needed someone to like help guide me, and you were there and taught me just beautiful tools about just setting boundaries and positive affirmations, practicing gratitude, and like really grounding practices, which I really needed in my life. When I was a little girl, I really struggled with anxiety, and I still do at times, to the point where I would, and trigger warning, but I am going to share. I used to like pick the skin from around my nails until like I would bleed, my nails would fall off and stuff. Like that's how stressed and anxious I was as a child. And so working with you and realizing like these different grounding practices, like taking your shoes off and going out on the grass and just like really becoming one with humanity and the earth and all that is in existence. It's like really a beautiful thing. And it stops you and realize, and it helps me realize at least that in the grand scheme of things, what I'm going through is big to me, but it's really kind of small. And there's a freedom in realizing that we are small and that we are um, beautiful, and we're connected to each other and what we're going through all together. We can get through it. It's just more possible that way.
Right. That's a great way to look at it. What about self-love practices? What do you do for you? What do you do to wind down, to refresh, regenerate? What are some of your favorite things to do?
Well, I really love skincare, so I love, doing masks. I love doing all that kind of stuff. But
Mhm.
on a more spiritual side, like writing down positive affirmations, like I am loved, I am worthy, I am, you know, exuberant or radiant or talented. Like it's okay to give yourself um compliments. It's okay to express um, the beauty that is within you, and I think that it's truly a practice of self-acceptance by doing that and accepting the beauty, because it's so easy to feel like weird doing that, and feeling like you can't give yourself the kudos that you deserve, or like recognizing your own worth. Like we rely so much on others to do that for us, and really it's our job to do it.
Right. And that was my next question. How do you feel about this whole validation thing? Like there's so many women that get caught up in being validated. And then you have all of social media and all the things around us. And, self-love is really honing in on ourself and our strengths, our inner abilities, and finding empowerment within ourselves. And I do feel that a lot of people do get caught up in the comparison. So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's so easy to get caught up in the comparison with social media. I mean, it's like, it's a, social media is a blessing and a curse, but I think it's really taken away from you being able to really be profoundly proud of your own achievements, because you can be, and then you start scrolling and you think, well, so and so's my age and they've accomplished XYZ and I'm not
Yeah.
there. But it's important to just realize that your journey is your journey, and you know there's no you know there's no map for us to follow. It's really our story, and we're creating it day by day, and just giving yourself like compassion and grace on that journey and allowing it to be yours and not
Mhm.
comparing to someone else's is like really important.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm sure that some people are really sinking into that and resonating with it. And I think it's really important. So we're winding down to the end of the show here. And if you could just tell us, what are you working on? Do you have any really big gigs coming up? Anything you want to share before we wind down this particular episode?
Absolutely. Well, I'll share again. If you're looking for something fun to do during that holiday season, I am doing a live performance of my Christmas album entitled River, and that'll be at the Wealthy Street Theater December 21st. That is a Thursday. And I hope to see you there. I hope to meet you in person. But also, like something on the more personal side, I am working on writing a book, like a memoir basically. And some people might think, well, she's kind of young for memoir, and I am, but I don't think that it's ever too early to share your story. And who knows, maybe there'll be sequels because my life is going to be long, and why not,
I
so.
think that's great. And no, you're never too young to share your story. And like I said earlier, you are an old soul. You are, meaning that you just have a lot of wisdom for 27 years old. I mean, you really do. So embrace that, embody that. And if you can help others with your story, why not? I mean, people want to reach out to you, and you could go speak at an event or schools or whatever. I'm sure that your story could impact people for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would love that.
So just to wrap up, what are your words of wisdom? If you had any last words that you would like to say to leave our audience with, what would they be?
Don't sit complacent in your pain. I don't know where that came from, but
Oh, it just came out. I love it. It just channeled right through. I love it. So elaborate. We've got a minute. Elaborate.
don't sit complacent in your pain. Like, if you're uncomfortable, it's for a reason, and begin to think about the reasons why you are why you are where you are at. Sorry, I'm having a hard time
Yeah, it's okay.
saying that. And just kind of realize that you are your own hero, and you can get yourself out of any circumstance. And I really do believe with support backing you, you can do anything in this world. And so don't sit complacent, write a plan out, write your goals down, and just get started and do it afraid.
I love it. That's great. I'm so glad that you shared those words of wisdom. I really am. So I'm sure that you're inspiring many out there, and you're young. You have a whole lifetime ahead of you.
I'm so excited for it too. I love aging. I love every year that I'm gifted.
I know. And that's right. You were talking about that post recently where you had a younger picture of you and then an older picture, and you're like, I don't care. I think even though your body had changed to some degree, I mean, you can elaborate for a minute if you want, but I thought that was really vulnerable. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, just learning to embrace myself at every stage. And as women, like, we are just so bombarded with like what the world wants us to be, or the concept of what a woman is. And like, we can create that ourselves. Like, we are who we are. And just being okay with my hips widening, and the fact that I'm just a curvy woman now. Like, I'm not going to ever be the stick figure I was back in high school. And like, just embracing that and realizing how beautiful it is just to have another day. And
Yeah.
I'm happy that God has given me the vessel that I have to experience this journey called life. So
Beautiful. I always say, own it. You just got to own it, because it's all in your attitude. It's all in your energy. It's all in your confidence. It doesn't matter about all the physical. It's like your energy and how you feel, because then it makes everything else look great anyway.
yes,
Great.
own it, girl.
Well, Sarena, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure that our guests have really appreciated your story as well. And for those of you that want to reach out to me, again, Sonnalife.com, if you would like to work with me or send me a message, send me feedback, any topics you want to hear. I would love to hear from you. I hear from people all over and I'd love to hear it. So, and also join me next week as I will be talking to an entrepreneur, and her name is Adina Muvana, and she is a spirituality consultant, and she has so many ventures that she's working on. We have to hone in on one. So she is going to be a stitch. Join me next week on Up Close and Empowered. Thank you so much for listening today. Have an awesome rest of the day.